May 2019, Santa Clara, California. Federal agents arrive at a quiet office park. They are there to arrest three men. Three men who over the course of 5 years had systematically walked out of the most important technology company in the world, carrying its secrets with them. Two of them are caught. The third, the mastermind behind the entire operation, is gone. He saw it coming and he fled. By the time the authorities decided to arrest him, he was already in China, untouchable to US authorities, and now enjoying extensive Chinese government backing to run a tech company based on the secrets he stole. What he took was invaluable, millions of lines of source code and gigabytes of confidential files that laid out the blueprint of the brain of the most complex machine ever built by human hands. A machine that cost about $400 million a piece, is only manufactured by one company, and less than 100 of them are made every year. It powers smartphones, self-driving cars, advanced military weaponry, and virtually every advanced tech product ever made. And this is the story of that machine. A machine at the center of a trade war between China and the US. This is the story of ASML. In 1984, two Dutch companies decided to do something that on paper made very little sense. Philips, one of Europe's most powerful electronics conglomerates, the company that invented the cassette tape, the video recorder, and co-invented the compact disc, had spent years developing lithography technology inside its own research labs. The technology worked, but turning it into a marketable product required money Philips didn't want to spend. So they partnered with ASM International, a smaller Dutch semiconductor firm, and together they created a joint venture. They called it ASM Lithography. The market they were trying to enter was already owned by someone else entirely. That someone else was Japan. Through the 1970s, Japan had run a coordinated, government-backed program to dominate the semiconductor industry. They funneled state resources into their optics companies, most notably Nikon and Canon. By the late 1980s, Nikon and Canon controlled 70% of the global lithography market. By 1995, Nikon alone held nearly 49% of global market share. Canon held another 29%. Between them, the two Japanese firms owned almost 4/5 of the entire industry. And somewhere in a small facility in Veldhoven, Netherlands, ASM Lithography, by now rebranded as ASML, held about 16% of what was left, despite having objectively inferior lithography machines. ASML knew that if they didn't radically improve their technology, their 16% market share would eventually disappear. So ASML decided to bet its entire future on an ambitious, borderline crazy project. In the late 90s, the lithography machines industry was approaching a ceiling, a physical limitations that machines of that generation couldn't surpass. You see, lithography machines work by using a light to project microscopic circuit patterns onto silicon. The shorter the wavelength of light you use, the smaller the features you can print, and the more powerful the chip. For decades, the industry had been progressively moving to shorter and shorter wavelengths, from visible light to ultraviolet to deep ultraviolet. Each transition provided a new generation of chips, and by the late 1990s, the industry was running out of road. Chips were getting so small that even the shortest practical wavelength was struggling to print the features accurately. To address the physics limitations of deep ultraviolet light technology, scientists and engineers began discussing the idea of an extreme ultraviolet light machine, or an EUV machine for short. These machines would have light with a wavelength of just 13.5 nanometers, roughly 100 times shorter than deep ultraviolet light machines. On paper, EUV would unlock an entirely new era of chip making. In practice, it presented problems so severe that most of the industry's brightest engineers genuinely weren't sure if it could be done at a commercial scale. Nikon looked at this problem and kept its focus on incremental improvements to existing deep ultraviolet technology. Canon did the same. EUV was unproven, and the R&D cost would be astronomical with no guarantee of return. ASML made a different call. In 1999, they committed to EUV, not just as a project running alongside their main business, but as the central bet that the entire company's future would ride on. They began spending what would ultimately exceed $10 billion over 2 decades. ASML created a network of hundreds of specialist suppliers across Europe and the United States, creating a web of shared development where every improvement in the design and engineering flowed back through ASML first. Across the decades, this closed ecosystem of independent, highly technical firms working together became a system that was impossible to replicate. Then, something happened that nobody had fully anticipated. When Nikon and Canon tried to enter the market and participate in research in an attempt to be the first to commercialize an EUV machine, the US government denied export licenses to Nikon and Canon that would have allowed them to participate in the key EUV research consortiums being run out of American national laboratories. The precise reasoning was never fully made public. This made both companies abandon EUV development entirely. ASML was now alone, the only company on Earth actively developing a commercial EUV machine. 2017 was the most critical year of ASML's history. Its machines, which for nearly 2 decades were error-prone and unreliable, reached a threshold of reliability and performance that convinced TSMC to begin using them seriously. 10 EUV systems shipped that year, each costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Dozens more were on back order immediately. Intel placed orders, Samsung placed orders, and eventually, every major chip maker on the planet suddenly needed a machine that only one company could provide. Market share numbers began to shift dramatically. ASML's share climbed from 16% in 1995 to north of 90% by the time they commercialized the EUV machines. Nikon, the company that had held nearly half the global market in 1995, now holds roughly 2.5% of it. Canon holds around 3%, but not everyone is allowed to use ASML's machines to build advanced chips. In 2019, the US imposed restrictions on ASML's EUV machines destined for China. This during Trump's first term as president, a term in which he made clear that he wanted to stop the economic rise of China by any means. And one of the most effective ways to do so would be to stifle its technological advancement. The effects of those trade restrictions had devastating consequences for China. By blocking EUV exports to China, the West had effectively frozen Chinese chip-making progression in time. But EUV was only the beginning, because China still had access to ASML's older generation of machines, the deep ultraviolet or DUV systems that had been the industry standard before EUV arrived. These machines couldn't reach the cutting edge, but they were still enormously capable. And for several years after the EUV ban, China continued buying DUV machines freely. Then whispers began to spread that Washington was planning on restricting DUV exports to China. Chinese chip makers, having seen the story before in 2019, rushed to place orders for DUV machines at a pace that had never been seen before. The scale of the buying spree was so large that by mid-2024, China accounted for 49% of ASML's total revenue. Then in 2024, the US imposed new export restrictions of ASML's DUVs to China, and sales to China immediately fell from 49% to 20% nearly overnight. In totality, these Western export controls of ASML's technology were effectively keeping China's most advanced domestic chip production capability roughly 10 to 15 years behind the global frontier, and that gap was only going to get larger unless something changed and China had one secret weapon. When the doors closed on China's access to EUV machines, the assumption in Washington and Brussels was relatively straightforward. Without the machines, China couldn't make the chips. Without the chips, China's military and AI ambitions would be constrained. But what nobody fully anticipated was how creative, how patient, and how relentless China would be in finding ways around a wall that was never quite as solid as it looked. The first workaround was genius. Deep ultraviolet lithography machines, the generation of equipment that preceded EUV, were still available to Chinese makers for several years after the EUV ban. These machines use light with a much longer wavelength than EUV, which means they can't print circuits as small as EUV machines. The assumption was that this limitation made them strategically acceptable. That assumption turned out to be partially correct. Chinese engineers discovered that by running silicon wafers through DUV machines multiple times, with each time printing a slightly different layer of the circuit pattern, they could achieve resolutions that a single layer would never permit. Layering multiple times with extraordinary precision to squeeze performance out of machines that were never designed to create such sophisticated chips. SMIC, China's advanced chip maker, used DUV multi-patterning to manufacture chips in the 7nm class, a node that according to the original logic of the export controls should have been completely out of reach. While the cost of multi-patterning was extremely expensive, with each additional stage of layering through the machine adding time, complexity, and the risk of defects compounding, in China, the government covers the loss because the strategic imperative outweighs the commercial one. But multi-patterning was only the visible surface of a much deeper and more troubling strategy, because while China's chipmakers were finding legal workarounds in their fabrication plants, a completely different category of activity was happening in the shadows. Remember the story I told you at the very beginning of this video? That is the story of Zhongcheng Yu. Yu had worked inside ASML for years, in one of its most sensitive divisions. Over years, he constructed one of the most elaborate corporate espionage operations in the history of the semiconductor industry. In January 2014, he incorporated a company called Xtal in Silicon Valley, a seemingly legitimate semiconductor software firm. 1 month later, he founded a second company called Dongfang Yingwan in Beijing, established inside a government-funded industrial enclave. Yu recruited engineers from the exact division he had worked in at ASML. One engineer who became Xtal's director of engineering had been secretly working for both companies simultaneously for months before he resigned. When ASML finally examined his computer after his departure, investigations found that he had downloaded files including source code onto a hard drive and taken it with him. Another engineer who became Xtal's IT director went further. He downloaded all 2 million lines of source code from ASML's OPC software and uploaded a significant portion of it to a private GitHub server accessible to around 30 engineers working across Xtal and Dongfang in California and Beijing. Criminal charges were filed against 3 men involved in the espionage case. 2 of them were arrested, and Zhongcheng Yu, the architect of the entire operation, is today in Beijing running Dongfang Yingwan with government backing, described in Chinese technology circles as a flag bearer for China's semiconductor industry. He has an outstanding arrest warrant in California as we speak. The Yu case is the most documented and famous case of corporate espionage in the semiconductor industry, but it's not the only one. In 2023, ASML disclosed in its annual report that a separate former employee based in China had engaged in unauthorized misappropriation of data relating to proprietary technology. Dutch investigators reported that this employee had potential ties to a Beijing-backed intelligence operation. After leaving ASML, this employee went to work for Huawei, the same company that the Chinese government has designated as the centerpiece of its domestic chip ambitions. Then in 2025, the fruits of China's espionage began to show. Reports began to emerge that China had built a prototype EUV lithography machine. This was meant to be impossible. After all, ASML was the only other company that could produce this machine, and it had taken them 20 years to arrive at that point. The machine that China had built, as far as we know, has not yet produced working chips, but it has demonstrated just how much technological advancement China has been able to achieve despite its export bans and isolation from EUV research. For now, the worst may be ahead of China, but it's only a matter of time until China catches up. But until then, ASML will remain Europe and the world's most important company. Thank you for watching.